Class no YouTube account. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Hello everyone, very warm welcome to this particular session, and it is part of our bridge course. This bridge course will orient you towards the UPSC civil service examination preparation. Under this, we have already done 20 odd classes, and in this class we will be telling very important aspect with respect to the first stage of this examination, that is preliminary examination. Everyone will be having this hypothetical question, that is how many questions we have to attend in prelims. So after having 10 years experience in this particular field, I will be unable to tell like how many questions you have to answer. So it may sound very odd that this whole session is for that particular question, how many questions we have to attend in the prelims, and I am unable to answer in the first go. Because this is completely personal and this is completely subjective from one person to another. Because we will be having 100 questions in the paper, and attending all the 100, yeah, one can do. Attending only 50 or 60 and getting through, very difficult, because very major factor in this preliminary examination score calculation is the negative mark. Negative mark in the sense that if you attend any question wrongly, that is like if you bubble wrongly in the paper for that particular question, you are going to lose 1/3 of the marks allocated for that particular question. So in the examination for GS paper, 2 marks will be allocated. 2 marks will be allocated for a right question, and 1/3 of this, 1/3 of these 2 marks, so that is equal to 2/3 of the marks will be cut if you answer that particular question wrongly. So this major factor is going to decide like how many questions you need to attend. In some of the objective type of questions or in some of the examination, there will not be any kind of negative marking. So in such cases, you can go for attending all the 100 questions, because even if you don't know, by luck you may get them correct, and if it is unfortunate, then you may lose, but you will not lose any marks in that particular thing. So here this negative marking is a major factor when it comes to the UPSC examination, especially preliminary examination. So we have to keep this thing in mind and we have to proceed. And at the very outside, if you ask me, sir, should I attend 70? Should I attend 90? So I can't tell a fixed number here. So it is subjected to your preparation. It is subjected to your preparation, and it is subjected to the toughness of the paper. And also it is subjected to how many people are attending that particular examination. So there are many factors which will be deciding how many questions you need to attend in the preliminary examination. So this question I'll be answering at the very end, or you will answer for yourself, like how many questions you need to attend. So let us begin the session with some of the basic things in this particular preliminary examination. So prelims paper, when it comes to paper 1, it is general studies paper. So GS paper already we have seen in our sessions like which all subjects come under this one. So usually people tell that anything under the sun will come as syllabus, but that is pretty overrated, or that is hyped. So we can hold all the syllabus into 8 to 10 books, or at the end in few sheets we can hold 400 to 500 sheets. We can hold all the syllabus that is meant for preliminary examination. So finally 100 questions will be given, and your knowledge will be assessed on these particular questions. Maybe throughout the year you might have studied 1 lakh questions. 1 lakh questions. Every sentence is a question. So you might have studied those many questions, but at the end you will be asked only 100 questions. So in this paper 100 questions will be asked. 100 questions for 200 marks, and 120 minutes will be allocated. So if you take like 1 hour, 1 hour, you have to 1 hour, you have to answer 50 questions, and in 2 hours, you have to answer 100 questions. But should we go in the order of 1 to 100? For example, first question, okay. After that, second question, third question, fourth question, fifth question. So, in all the objective papers so far in your life, maybe it is in some competitive exam, or maybe during your school exams, or maybe during some of the certificate examination, usually where the MCQ is the question pattern, there you might have done this mistake. So you are going to realize that mistake, what you have done earlier, and you are not going to repeat in the preliminary examination anymore. So I'll be telling you like what all we need to do to tackle this paper. And usually our approach will be from question number 1, 2, 3, 4, we'll go like this. But is it true? Is it true that we know all these questions? Or are we so much intelligent to know every question that has been given in the paper? If somebody says yes, so it will be wrong. So nobody will be knowing all the 100 questions in the paper or out questions in the paper, especially UPSC preliminary examination. So this ideal case doesn't arise at all. That is like nobody will be knowing all the questions. For example, if you consider these 4 questions, first question you might be knowing very well. Second question, like it is 50-50. 50-50, like you may know or you may not know. You might be knowing partially, or you may be knowing only few things about that particular question. Third question, let's say you don't know anything. And fourth question again, you might be knowing. Fifth question, you don't know. Sixth question, you don't know. Seventh question, you might be knowing. Eighth question, doubt. So like this, from 1 to 100 if you go, you will face this situation. But here, your energy will be high. Your energy will be high. Because first question you are able to tackle. And in the second question, when you are doubtful about that question, your energy level will be moderate. Okay? Slowly you will be started feeling like, oh, this question I don't know, and maybe all the questions in the paper must be like this only. So the energy will come to a moderate level. And when you don't know the third question, your energy will be very low. Energy will be very low. Again in the fourth question, high, moderate, or low. Here the lowest. Again bit high, moderate level. Again lowest. So like this, throughout the examination, your energy will be fluctuating. Energy will be fluctuating in the sense your confidence level is fluctuating. So here you have to concentrate to maintain your energy or maintain your confidence throughout. So how can you maintain that confidence or energy in the paper? So where your energy is getting boosted? Energy is getting boosted in the known questions, where you know the questions very well. So the very humble request would be, like in the first round, you have to go with only known questions. The known questions where you know everything. So this particular class or session is meant for this thing. How you are going to divide your energy, how you are going to divide the risk level. So that is what is being told in this particular class. So approaching the questions in this fashion, that is 1 to 100. So we don't know the rationality behind going 1 to 100. Who has told this? Like you have to go from 1 to 100. Why you can't come from 100 to 1? Because it is traditional method. That is why we are adapting. But this is very wrong and this is very time consuming. Within first 30 minutes, you are going to lose the confidence if you go in this way. And if you sustain after half an hour, then you will be taking random risk in the paper, and this particular fashion will ruin the whole paper, and your preliminary examination is gone, or for that matter, any objective paper that you are dealing in this way, so that will be gone. So this we have to shed. So shed this method, that is no approach from 1 to 100. Then we have to divide the whole questions into a few of the risk categories or the confidence categories. So how you are going to divide this risk? Divide this risk. First thing is by your conviction. Conviction, that is how much you know in that question. And conviction is the strong feeling towards that particular question, that either you know or you don't know. So when you know, you have to tick. When you don't know, that is even for 10% or 20%, if you don't know about that question, partially also if you know, like you have to leave that question. So that is the conviction that we'll be having towards that particular question. And trust me, out of 100 questions, according to your preparation level, there will be around 40 to 50 such questions for sure. So it varies from 40 to 50. But if you go from 1 to 100, you are going to miss these confident questions, because you are treating every question equally and you are treating every question with the same risk. You are not able to divide the risk. So here, on the basis of conviction, we are going to divide the risk. And second thing is the elimination. Elimination, this we have to apply in partially known questions. Partially known questions, that means let's say there are 3 statements in the question. If you know 2, then you can eliminate another one, or you can eliminate the options very easily. So that is very much possible, and I am going to tell you like how scientifically that elimination has to be done in the further slides. And finally, if you take the guess round, and pardon me, in my session or throughout our guidance, we don't tell that you have to guess. Guess is a very negative connotation in our preparation. Guess, there is no space for guess here, or there is no scope for guess. So here, whatever that you are doing at the end, before you wind up your paper or before you submit your OMR sheet, whatever that you are doing in the unknown questions or little known questions, that is the logic. You are trying to connect some of the keywords in the questions to the keywords in the answer. So that is the logic round what we talk about. These things I am going to tell it in detail. So let us look into the types of questions that we get in the examination. Types of question. So if you try to just visualize your objective papers that you have attended anywhere, maybe CET examination, maybe some certification examination you might have attended. So the number of questions will be divided in few categories. That is direct questions. Direct questions in the sense, here we will be having the answers directly. For example, this is first question, and here the answers will be directly given as A, B, C, D. After this statement, there is nothing in between. So after the statements, only options will get. So these are called as direct questions. Direct questions, like there are no statements associated with the question. Directly, it is like objectivity. For example, particular year or particular date or particular person, particular place or particular species or particular report, particular book. So like this, particular price. So like this, you are going to apply your objective knowledge. That is, for sure, this is the thing. So first type of questions or first category of questions is direct questions, where statements are not coming, and other questions are associated with statements. Statement based questions. Either you will be having 2 statements associated with the question, or 3 statements associated, or 4 or more. So in these questions, what you will get is usually this is the question number 1, let's say, and they will ask something. Consider the following statements, or which of the following is or are correct, like that. And under that, they'll be giving statement 1 and statement 2. And when it comes to the options, they'll be giving A, B, C, and D. And here, let's say 1 and 2 only. And here, 2 and when I come across the statements like 1 and 2, it will be like 1 only, 2 only. Here both 1 and 2. And here neither 1 nor 2. Neither 1 nor 2. So like this, the options will come when it is two statement based question. Then if the statements are 3, so it will be like 1 and 2 only, or 2 and 3 only, or here 1 and 3 only, or here 1, 2 and 3. So like this, the options will be there. If the statements are 4 or more, again these options are going to vary. So when the options are more than 4 or 4, so the options here are going to vary. So when it comes to two statements, the options can be 4, 1 only, 2 only, both 1 and 2, neither 1 nor 2. When it comes to three statements, like the options will be 4, but the probability of getting the answer here in this question is more. And when it is about 4 or more statements, then getting the answer by elimination method will become more handy. So let us discuss these questions later in our session. But here, these are the types of questions that we get in the examination. So before going any further, first I would like to acquaint you to the examination paper. Either direct questions or statement based questions will come in the examination. Then now we'll be answering this one, that is order of answering, like how you have to deal with the paper, how you have to go about the questions, which questions we have to attend first, which question later. So order of attending or order of answering, it has to be in this particular fashion. First approach, or as soon as you take the paper, after a few minutes, maybe 2-3 minutes, when you are going for the answering, you are dealing mainly with the direct questions, and according to our assessment or according to our statistical knowledge, usually 45 to 55 questions will come as the direct questions. 45 to 55. At the worst case, you will get 45 questions. At the best case, you will get 55 questions in this particular fashion. That is, direct questions will be around 45 to 55. And these are the questions where you need less time. You need less time in the sense, like, you have to just read the question and you have to identify the answer. And in such questions, your time required for analyzing that question, when you know the answer, so it will not go more than 15 seconds. Just know the question and answer it, tick it. So this is what we are going to do in the answer sheet. So here this will not consume much time. Then we are going with questions with 4 or more statements. I'll tell you how. Let us take the questions with 2 statements, questions with 3 statements, and questions with 4 statements. And more than 4, I am going to take later. So 2 statements, you can create only 2 to the power of 2 options. That is, you can create only 4 options. That is 1 only, 2 only, both, and neither. Can you create any other option here? 1, 2, both, or neither. That's it. Then when it comes to 3 statements, you can create 2 to the power of 3 options. That is 8. For example, 1 only, 2 only, 3 only. Then 1 and 2, 2 and 3, and 1 and 3. Then we have 1, 2, 3, and none. So you can create 8 options. But in examination, how many options will be given? They'll be given only 4 options. That means out of these possibilities, that is 8 possibilities, you are going to have only 4. Already they have eliminated 4. So here the probability of getting the answer by elimination will be more than what we get here, because we have all the 4 options here and we have to choose among them. Here 8 options are there. They have given only 4. To eliminate among these, it will be very easy. When it comes to 4 statements, there can be 16 options. So I need not write here because it will take more space. So 1 only, 2 only, 3 only, 4 only, 1 and 2, 2 and 3, 3 and 4, then 2 and 4, 1 and 3, like that. Then 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 4, or 1, 3, 4, like that, and none. So here you will get 16 options, but only 4 options are given in the answer booklet. So here already 12 options have been removed by the examination setter or the question paper setter. So you have to answer among these 4 options which have been given, and getting the correct answer or probability of getting the correct answer here is more than this and even more than this. So our approach in the examination, it is like first direct questions because it will be less time consuming, and when it comes to statement based questions, first you have to attend the 4 statement questions. 4 statement questions in the sense, after direct questions you have to take this in the second round, and next one is this, and next one is this. Here we are dividing the paper according to probability. According to probability, yes, again it is scientific. So first direct questions, then we are going to questions with 4 or more statements, then questions with 3 statements, and finally questions with 2 statements. 2 statements questions are dangerous because you need to know both the statements there. But when it comes to 4 statement question and 3 statement questions, here getting the answer or probability of getting the answer is more because already few of the options are eliminated by the examiner. So you have to go in this fashion. Next, firstly we divided like according to the probability, like how you have to go with the answer. So first direct questions, then 4, then 3, then 2. Now I am coming to round 1. Irrespective of which questions you are attending, either direct questions or statement based questions. Now you have to keep in mind about this round 1. Again here we are going in this order only. Direct question, 4 statements, 3 statements and 2 statements only. But how we are going, it is based upon our knowledge. Or mainly based upon our conviction. That is, here we are not going to take even single % of risk. Here in this round, we are going ahead with only the sure shot questions. That means you are not taking the questions to analysis at all. Either by your eyes or just by your remote memory, you are going to solve this particular question. So sure shot knowledge, when you look into the question, there is no ambiguity at all. And you are going to solve these questions. So this is called as sure shot knowledge round, and this is least time consuming because there is no ambiguity. Among the statements at all because you know everything about that question. So in such questions, even if they are statement based questions, these questions are not going to take more than 30 minutes because you know everything about that question. So in this round, you have to correct more number of questions. Either it is direct or statement based, you have to correct more number of questions. And usually for a good preparation, usually people will attend around 45 to 50 questions in this round. That is sure shot round without any ambiguity. But on a very conservative basis, let's say 40. If you are solving 40 questions in this round without any ambiguity, without any confusion, then your preparation has been good and you have to go for more number of questions. So we'll look into that aspect later in the second round. And now, whenever you are dealing with the sure shot question, that is when you know the question, just mark in the paper only. Let's say B is the answer. Mark in the paper only. For example, in this particular thing, you know 1, you know 2. Mark in the paper only, nothing will happen. So in last 10 years experience, nobody has been debarred who has marked in the question paper. Don't worry. So in such thing, you are marking even the statements also. And when it comes to this one, the option, you are marking the option also. You mark in the paper itself in the first round. No need to go to the second round, or no need to fill the OMR as and when you finish off that particular question, because this round is a confidence round. Confidence round, you are going with full throttle, and if you give a break, in this confident round, your momentum will be lost. If your momentum will be lost, then to regain that momentum, it is very hard task. That is why you go on marking in the paper. First round, sure short round, go on marking in the paper itself. Then while marking the sure short questions, now you have to mark the partially known questions. Partially known questions, you are not answering there. You are not marking the answer. You are marking the question itself. You are marking the question itself in the sense, let's say you don't know about this question. You are marking either question mark or a star mark you are putting on this one. Let's say you don't know this question. You are putting a question mark or a star mark. Or even if you are confused with the statements, let's say you know 1, you know 2, you don't know about 3, and you don't know about 4. So mark with something, either question mark or star or something which has to be very much visible, because these questions you are going to take up in the second round. In the second round, you are going to take up the partially known questions. Here you should not mark unknown questions at all. While doing the first round, you have to mark the answers in the questions whichever you know, and you have to mark those questions in which you have partial knowledge. So the questions have to be marked. Unknown questions need not be marked in this round at all. So don't touch those. Don't mark anything on the unknown questions. If you know, you are ticking the answer. If you don't know, if you are partially knowing that question, you are putting some mark. Then next one, so bubbling, it is a very important aspect. It is very important aspect in the paper, because whatever you know, you are giving the output there in the OMR sheet. So OMR sheet filling is very important. So soon after your direct questions, that is like this ABCD questions, if you are finalizing, let's say out of 45 to 55 such questions, if you know, let's say 30 to 35 questions, that is very good. Out of 45 to 55 direct questions, if you are having the answer for 30 to 35 questions in the sure short round, this is fantastic. Even if you are struggling with 25 to 30 questions, that is fine. Now, after this round, because you are marking nearly 25 to 35 questions, if you keep them for later to bubble in the answer paper or in the OMR sheet, so it will be risky. So that is why soon after this round, that is in the first round, in the sure short round, after marking the direct questions, you just go and fill the OMR sheet, and you will be going to assess the paper, because when you have 30 questions correct, that means 30 questions into 2 marks, so 60 marks are there in your pocket already. Let's say after this round, you are going for the statement based questions. So statement based questions, 3 statements, 2 statements, 4 statements, whatever. Let's say you finish off all that thing and again bubble. Let's say in the rest questions, let's say 50 questions are statement based questions and you know only 20. Let's say you have attended around 25 here, and in this statement based sure short questions you have attended 20. You are answering 45 sure short questions. 45 sure short questions you are answering. That means what? 45 into 2. In the first round only you are scoring 90. Even at the worst case, you will be getting 70 here. If you are having conviction on whatever you have read, or your preparation is very good, your score will be 70 to 90 in the first round. Let's say at the very conservative basis, you will be scoring 70 in this particular round. And this particular round, as I said, for direct questions, you are taking 20 minutes because in 15 seconds you can get the answer here. And statement based questions, yes, it will take 1 minute, and also you are not only marking the correct answer here, you are also like marking the questions in which you have partial knowledge, so it will take time. So totally in 1 hour, you are going to finish off this round. And what is the output of this round? Your score is lying somewhere between 70 to 90. Now we have to think of the second round, but before going to the second round, you have to judge the paper. In the sense, if you are solving around 45 right questions in this round, that means you are doing very well. Let's say you have scored around 35. Let's say you have solved 35 questions in the sure shot round. That means somewhere your paper is going on an average basis. Let's say you have done 50 in the first round itself. That means you are at par. That means your solution is going very well. But again, here you have to judge the toughness of the paper. If the questions that you have solved is 50, then seemingly the paper is easy. When the paper is easy for you, it will be easier for your competitors also. Let's say you have solved 30. That means question is very tough, or question paper is very tough. So when it is tough for you, it will be tougher even for your competitors. So if you are solving 40, that means it is an average paper. So based upon this round, you are going to judge the paper, and you are going to somewhere guess the cutoff also. Not guess the answers, guess the cutoff. So if it is around 50 questions in the first round, you may expect the total cutoff might be around 120. If you are solving around 40, then somewhere the cutoff will be around 105. If you are solving around 30 questions, the cutoff will be somewhere around 95 to 100. So this is the judgment. On this judgment, you are going to face the next round. And when you are bubbling, a stage after stage, that bubbling will give you some rest, because your mind is not thinking. You are bubbling in the paper. That means you are not thinking too much about the questions. You are simply bubbling, and it is kind of a relaxation. That is why after chunk of direct questions you are bubbling, and after statement based questions you are bubbling in the paper. So while you are bubbling, you will be calculating all these things, like how is the paper, and you have got some rest also. For 3-4 minutes while bubbling, you have got some rest. Now it is the time to go for the second round. This is how you have to think. Second round, in the sense, here you have to gear up, because sure shot knowledge questions are over. Now you are going for the elimination round. So this particular round, round 2, is elimination round, or you are taking very moderate risk here, because your solution is somewhere around this number, and your score is somewhere around this. Now you are calculating like how many questions you need to take risk. But here, while you have solved only 50, at the max you have solved 50. With 50 questions, if you come out, you are going to fail for sure, because always the cutoff will be hovering between 95 to 120. If you have solved 50, that means all your questions have to be correct and you will have to get 100. But there will be some human errors in the sense, some silly mistakes you might have done, and that margin we have to keep it for around 15%. So when you have solved 50 questions, you may get 85 as your score. So now in all the cases, whether the question paper is tough or easy or moderate level, you have to go for second round. There is no escape from the second round, in which you are taking moderate risk. So here you are going to those questions in which you have marked earlier during your first round. During your first round, you have marked a few questions with some symbols because you are coming back to those questions. Let's say in the paper there are 25 to 35 such questions. 25 to 35 such questions left with some mark because you know them partially. Here you have to go ahead with the elimination round. Elimination round in the sense you have partial knowledge and how you are going to eliminate. It is not just like this. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, this might be right, this might be wrong, this might be right. No. Already in the first round, you have read these statements, and you know the statements partially. Then you are going to see in the options. Let's say you are having the knowledge about 1. You are having the knowledge about 1. You don't have the knowledge about 2. And about third statement, you are sure that it is wrong. You are sure that it is wrong. Here 1 is correct and 3 is wrong. But you don't know about second. You don't know about second. But in the option, let's say in the option, 1 only is there. 1 only. And let's say 3 only. Then 1 and 2 only. 1 and 2 only. And let's say, this D is none. None. Here you know 1 is correct. So 1 is here, 1 is here. 3 is wrong. So this is gone. And even this cannot be your answer. So now you are struggling between A and C. Struggling between A and C. For that you have to know 2. For that you have to know 2. Now you are concentrating only on this statement. That is second statement. How you are going to concentrate on this one? You are going to spend more time here. So elimination you are doing here, but what is the basis for this elimination? And here we are going to put lot of pressure on our minds. Pressure on our minds in the sense like this particular statement you have heard somewhere, you have read somewhere, you have seen somewhere, you have discussed with someone. So you have to just close your eyes and you have to think or you have to visualize that particular scene. Like in, for example, let's say polity in parliament, maybe motions. So maybe you are able to visualize the page where motions part is there, Then maybe in the corner, you might have marked somewhere in your book. So that will be visualized while you are putting the pressure. Or in the class, maybe you will just remember the lecture. Or maybe in current affairs, you have read something about it. Or during the discussion with friends, you might have heard it. So you have to put pressure, honestly, then you are going to get the statement correct or wrong. That means you will get the, you will get some pointer which will point that this was done in that class, this has come in this chapter, this has, been discussed with your friends. So like that you are going to get and you are going to tick mark. So in these 25 to 35 questions, you are going to mark this. Already you have solved around 30 to 50 questions, and here 25 to 35. In that, let's say you are solving around 25 only, because you are not taking risk in few of them. Earlier you might have solved around 45. So 45 and 25, let's say 70. But in this round, your hit rate will not be great. Out of 25 questions, maybe 15 correct and 10 wrong. This chance is there. But definitely in this round, if you apply pressure on your mind, you are going to get more answer correct than wrong. So you have to trust this process, and somewhere your score will be 15 into 2, 30, and 10 into 0.67. So around 6.7, your score will be 23.3. 23.3 you are going to add to your score. let's say on a very conservative basis, you had scored 70 in first round, 70 in first round, 70 in first round. In the second round, you are going to get around 25. You are going to get around 25. In the first round, 70. In the second round, let's say 25. So 25 plus 75, around 95. So after your second round, you are going to get around 95. Now we have to think whether you have to go for more questions because you are scoring 95, but your target has to be somewhere around 110. Even on like moderate paper, you have to score 105, and you are scoring 95 now, so you have to stretch a bit. And after this round also, you have to bubble. 20 to 30 questions you are going to bubble in the sheet, and you are again gearing up for the third round. So first round, second round is over. You are gaining some energy for third round. So third round, it will be a very risky round because pure knowledge basis that has been done in first round. Then in second round, already you have eliminated. Even partial knowledge has been tested. Only in the third round, like we have to stretch a bit, and whatever the score that we are getting here, 95, it is on very conservative basis. Few people might think that, oh, this score is enough for me, so I will just wind up here and I'll not take risk. But again, you don't know. In the third round, if it is needed, you have to go for this particular round. And this is a need-based risk that we are taking. And here, in this round, my suggestion would be, don't go for more than 10 questions in this round. Irrespective of what you have solved in the earlier rounds, here you have to go for around 10 questions. Let's say you have done very badly in first and second stage or first and second round. You have to assess the paper, and you have to have this calculation, how many questions you have to attend. In the very worst case, that is, already your paper is gone. Let's say in both the rounds, you have been able to mark only 55 to 60 questions. In that case, definitely you have to take risk because there is no other go. So either win or lose. So you have to swing your sword in the third round. But my general suggestion would be, don't go for more number of questions in this riskier round. And if you have solved around 70 questions in 2 rounds, maybe you are stretching for another 10 to 15 questions at the max. Let's say you have solved 80 in the first 2 rounds. Maybe 5 to 10 questions you are going. Let's say you have solved 85 questions in the first 2 rounds. There is no need to go for risk. 2 to 5 questions you can go. But you have solved only 60 in the first round. Maybe for another 15 questions to 20 questions you need to stretch, because in 60 it is very difficult. You don't know because you might be scoring 100, but you don't know whether it will be sufficing in that particular paper. So depending upon the number of questions that you have solved in the first 2 rounds, you have to go for the third round. It is a need-based risk, like whatever the risk appetite that you have, so only up to that you have to go. And already we have told, this is the round where we have least knowledge about the questions. Let's say we have solved 70 questions, 30 questions are left. And again, you are not going to take risk from 1 to 30. That is from the beginning of the paper to the end of the paper. Already you have read these questions twice, because in the first round you have stopped taking risk in this one. In the second round also, you have taken risk in few things, and few things you have left. So you might have read all these questions in prior to the second round, or in prior to the third round, you have read them twice. So here my request would be, among these 30 questions, you have to skim. and you have to apply the logic. Apply the logic in the sense, for example, the question is on Ashoka. Question is on Ashoka. And let's say in this we have the options A, B, C, D. And in Ashoka's life, something with respect to Kalinga, something with respect to Buddhism, something with respect to Dhamma, something with respect to Sarnath. If you are able to connect that keyword in the questions to the option, usually that will be right. But here you are going to take more risk, and what we want here, some positive marks. Though our right questions and wrong questions are in equal number, you are going to get marks here. Let's say in this round, let's say I have answered 10, 5 correct and 5 wrong. So I am going to lose 3.3 marks here, but I am going to get 10 marks here. So my score will be 6.6, that is positive. Any positive score in this round will be appreciable. So here you have to skim through the paper and apply the logic. Skimming means out of these 30 questions, my target would be, let's say 10 questions I have to attend. So among these 10, I am taking only 5 first. 5 that too selected in which I can take risk. These are not the first 5 or the last 5. I am going to take some risk in these particular questions, 5 questions. Then after taking risk in 5 questions, I am going for 2 questions or 3 questions. Then going and taking in 2 questions and taking risk in 1 question. Skimming means what? Every time you churn something, you will get some cream. You are taking that out. So out of these 30 questions, you have skimmed and you have got 5 questions. You are answering them. In the rest 25 questions, you are skimming and you are getting 3 questions in which you can take risk. Then in the rest 22 questions, you are skimming and you are taking 2 questions. In rest of the 20 questions, you are skimming and taking 1 question. So like this, if you go on skimming until the end of the session, your risk level or the number of questions that you are going to solve is going to reduce. In the initial, no risk, moderate risk to high risk. Then in the third round, you are trying to reduce your risk because you are taking risk in only few questions. So like this, if you do, this is completely scientific, and you are going to bubble after each question, because in the last few minutes, I have marked 20 minutes here, because already you have spent 1 hour 40 minutes and 20 minutes are left. And in this question, you are not keeping bubbling for the last. You are bubbling soon after that question is over. Maybe these 5 questions, soon after each question you are marking there. Then soon after these 3 questions, you are marking. Soon after these 2 questions, you are marking. Soon after this 1 question, you are marking. You don't know when the invigilator is coming and snatching your paper. So until the last round, you should be bubbling then and there only. But I have told, first round you are bubbling twice, that is soon after direct questions and soon after the statement based questions. In second round, so after that whole round, maybe direct or maybe statement based, you are going to mark in the paper. But in the third round, as soon as you solve the question, you have to fill the OMR sheet. So like this, we are reducing the risk with respect to conviction, with respect to elimination, and with respect to logic. And also we are dividing the questions according to the probability of getting more answer or more marks that we are taking first. So like this, we have completely deciphered the prelims paper in a very scientific way. And this method has helped many aspirants who were not able to clear the prelims paper in 3 or 4 attempts, and this year they have got ranks. So preliminary is an elimination round because they want only around 12 to 15,000 people who will be writing the mains examination. But application will be more than 10 lakh or 11 lakh. So most of the people, that is almost 90% of the people, are getting eliminated from this particular round. That is why you have to have a proper risk appetite, or you have to divide the whole paper according to risk and also according to the probability, because looking at the paper from the perspective of risk and from the perspective of probability, it is more scientific rather by going emotions. So emotions we have to completely shed. We should not use our ego here. We should not use whatever the bad experience we had with the prelims paper. Just you have to shed all these attitudes and you have to be more scientific in the paper, and in those 2 hours, like, you have to be objective and you should be knowing what you are doing. In none of the minutes you are getting carried away by the emotions. Then after this paper we have paper number 2. Paper number 2, that is prelims paper. Prelims paper, CSAT paper. Since 2015, this particular paper has been made as a qualifying paper. Qualifying paper, this paper will be having 80 questions and 200 marks, and 120 minutes will be at your disposal. And here every question carries 2.5 marks. 2.5 marks are carried by every question. 2.5 marks are carried by each question. And for wrong question, you are going to lose 0.83 marks. For wrong question, you are going to lose 0.83 marks. Again, here also the negative questions play a very big role. So you have to be careful while attending this paper also. Though the passing marks are 67. 67, if you get in this paper, you are qualified along with your GS score. And this score will not be counted at all because this is qualifying. Only your first paper score is going to matter for the merit. So 67 questions means you have to attend 27 questions. That means without making any mistake, you have to get 27 questions correct. And after that, 1 correct, 3 wrong. 1 correct, 3 wrong. Even if you go with that ratio, then that is okay. But 27 has to be net correct. Net correct. Taking out your negatives, 27 questions have to be correct. Then here we have 3 particular sections. 3 particular sections, that is quantitative aptitude is 1, and logical reasoning, and that is RC, that is reading comprehension. Usually from quantitative aptitude and logical reasoning, we get around 50 questions. We get around 50 questions, somewhere 45 to 50. And in RC, that is reading comprehension, we get around 30 questions. 30 questions. And here, the very big mistake that the people do here is they will be more attached to one or the other section. Few people will be very good at reading comprehension. So what they will do, they will take all the reading comprehension questions at once. Few people who are more oriented towards the logical part, logical reasoning questions, they will take all of them together. And few people who are very good at maths, so they will take quantitative aptitude in the beginning and they will sit with those questions. But this is a failing method. Though we want 67 as our score, the people will fail if they do some partial approach. Partial approach, they should not stick to their favorite areas, because if you attend all these 30 RC questions, by the time you finish off, this will be nearly 80 minutes. 80 minutes. And even if you solve all the 30 questions here, the maximum outcome out of RC is 70% right. That means out of 30 questions, you will get 21 correct and 9 wrong. 9 wrong. And your net score will be 18 into 2.5, that is equal to 45. You will get only 45 marks, but you are left with only few minutes. And by the time you finish off RC, your head will be paining because so much to read, nearly 30 pages to read. So that will kill your energy. And also there will be fatigue from the first paper. From the first paper, there will be fatigue. That is why you have to go ahead with a method where you are treating all the parts equally. And when it comes to quantitative aptitude, few people will be very much interested in maths, but 30 questions, and if they keep on doing, and they will spend more than 70 minutes here, more than 70 minutes, because most of the people will not be practicing before going to this paper because they trust their maths knowledge, but their basics will be strong, but the calculation part or the logical part, they will face some problem. That is why they are going to take more than 2 minutes in each question. If they have practiced the paper very well earlier before the examination, that's okay. They can finish within 45 minutes also. But here you are not sure, like all the questions will be right or wrong. And here the numbers will be running. After you solve all the quantitative aptitude question, in your brain, some numbers will be running and you will not be having the energy to look into the logical reasoning part or the reading comprehension part. So what I would say is, you have to pick the easiest questions from these particular sections. For example, round 1 in CSAT paper, 10 questions from quantitative aptitude, 10 questions from logical reasoning, and 10 questions from reading comprehension. So these are the easiest, and these are your choices. And again, we are not going in order 1 to 100. We are just having the confidence part, and we are going and finding the very easy ones. So first round, 30 questions. 30 questions. Let it take more than 1 hour also. So here your hit rate will be very high. In the second round, again section wise, we are going 5 questions in each section. Maybe it is quantitative aptitude, logical reasoning, or reading comprehension. We are going for 5 questions. So by the end of this round, you will be solving 30 in the first round and 15 in the second round, 45. In the third round, you are solving 2 questions. Again, if you end up in spending all these 2 hours or all 120 minutes, you are going to solve more than 50 questions. And again, you are dividing your risk scientifically, because you are approaching 10 easier questions in each section, then 5, then 2. Then last minute solutions, maybe until the OMR sheet is snatched from you by invigilator, you are going to solve one or the other question, but don't forget to bubble. And you have to bubble here after each round. So like this, we are going with indiscriminate approach towards all the sections. That is, easier questions first, moderate level, then tougher questions in the third round. If you do like this, if you cross more than 50 questions in all these 3 rounds, for sure you will be clearing this paper irrespective of the difficulty level of the question paper. This is what I had to tell you. And as a homework, I'll be telling you that you go and look into the old question papers. At least you count how many direct questions have come, how many 4 statement based questions have come, how many 3 statement based questions have come, and how many 2 statements based questions have come. Or go to second paper, CSAT paper, look at the maths questions, how many maths questions are there, how many reasoning questions are there, and how many RC questions are there, and how many you can solve in the first round. Don't solve them, but at least you should get a hang that how many questions you have to solve. So do this research, okay, before going to like solving any question paper. Do this research, and from now onwards, you have to be resolved to tackle any objective paper, and you should be able to divide the risk, and you have to go objectively into this paper by knowing the probability and also the risk division. I think by now you might be knowing that how many questions you have to attend. So I have not answered objectively like how many questions you have to attend. Somewhere between 70 to 90 questions you are attending at the end. So irrespective of the toughness of the paper, maybe very tough paper you are attending 75 to 80, moderate level you are attending 80 to 85, and 85 to 90 in the easier paper. If your conviction is more, if your conviction is more, maybe like +2 here, +2 here, +2 here, maybe more than 90 questions you'll be attending. I think you got the answer. Your total number of questions that you are attending, that should be based upon your knowledge, based upon probability, and based upon the judgment of the paper, and that judgment is only yours, nobody else. Okay, thank you very much, and prepare well and wait for our next session. Thank you very much.
Stop recording.